In this example, I'm going to ask a question of a relational database and hopefully get an LLM to give me a good answer to it. I'm pretty interested in this use case. I started working, kind of exploring it, a couple of years ago, and it didn't really work very well at the start. I think the models weren't as good, and as the models are getting better, even the open source models are getting better now. I think this is starting to show some promise. And so in this case, I'm going to connect to a SQL database. I think I'll post this video on LinkedIn, and a lot of my contacts are in healthcare, so I've chosen a publicly available healthcare data set to demonstrate this. So I'm going to connect to my local SQL. This is on my laptop, so there's an instance of Microsoft SQL Server. It has a bunch of databases. One of them is MEPS. I could specify it and then pick a table, but I'm actually going to leave it blank. And the idea is that the LLM hopefully can figure out what the right database is based on the question I ask. And I'm actually going to be using an open source model. So this is Meta Llama. It's a 90 billion parameter model. It's available for free, so I'm going to be using that model. What is the relationship between income and health expenditure? Let's say total health expenditure. And I would just note that the free Llama model is I mean the state of the art models by Claude and OpenAI are still going to be better, but let's see if it's able to do a decent job here. It did find the right database to connect to, so that's MEPS. So it selected a couple of variables from this table, so it thinks that's the right table to connect to. They seem correct. I mean, I'm familiar with this database, so it's family income and total expenditure. It's trying to find the correlation. It's doing a scatter plot. Let's run this code and see what we get. So it's finding a correlation that has slightly negative correlation. It's getting a scatter plot. Okay, interesting. Um, I wanted to analyze it for me and tell me what I'm looking at. So I'm going to click on Analyze. So what this does is it kind of interprets the information for me, which I think is also kind of pretty interesting and useful. So it shows a weak negative correlation, key observations from the scatter plot. Okay, interesting. I like it. So I'm going to clear this and ask another question. Give me a Venn diagram for people with diabetes and those with asthma. So just to see what's the overlap for people with those conditions. Okay, that was very quick generation. Let's see if it did it correctly. So I did correct the right database. It's finding people with diabetics. It's finding people with asthma. And then it's doing a merge using the right key variable. And it's plotting a Venn diagram. Okay, let's see if we get a reasonable looking answer. Now the total database is around 30,000 or so people, so or 30 yeah 30,000 or so. So I think given that it seems reasonable, but I think the technology. So I think this is correct based on what I'm looking at the code and the numbers, but I think with this technology right now, you still have to be really careful and look at the query and really test the results. You can't just rely on them. But I would say it's pretty impressive what the types of applications we can build now with this LLM technology, and it's getting better. So I think there's just so much to explore here in terms of what kinds of questions we can ask, and also the types of problems that remain unsolved. So right now, for example, it's using information from the database, the columns. You can give it additional information in the dictionary to allow it to understand, which values of the columns to pull. But there's still a number of I would say relatively unsolved problems where it doesn't fully understand what these columns mean. And I'll explore that in future videos, like for example, if there's like just keeping with the healthcare theme, if there is some kind of diagnosis or procedure or information. In healthcare, there's a lot of codes of different types. So if it doesn't fully understand what those codes are, it might know what column to pull from, but if it doesn't understand the values in it, then that can cause problems too. So anyway, so I can explore that in future videos. Um, but feel free to share your thoughts, add any commentary, and then I'll address those when I make another video on this topic. Thank you for watching.